This is not just a story, this actually happened. Some details may be changed, but the truth isn't. And the last one will make you believe. Anderson Cooper, a well-known American journalist, once shared a strange real-life incident that completely changed his life. Dr. Max is my friend. He lives in South Africa and is a heart surgeon. He has even served as the personal physician of Nelson Mandela. By nature, he is an adventure-loving traveler, always exploring one end of the world and moving toward the other. He wrote a remarkable travelogue titled Around the Wailing Wall about Israel and Palestine, which was truly outstanding. That book became the reason for our introduction, and later we even traveled together. He is among those rare individuals who inspire others, and I am one of those inspired by him. A few days ago, Dr. Max sent me a surprising incident from his life. Here is the story in his own words. About 17 years ago, I was working in a large hospital in London at a junior position. My salary was modest. I had a small 2-room apartment provided by the hospital, and life was full of endless responsibilities. Making ends meet was difficult. During December holidays, I got a chance to visit Boston with my family. My wife had to go to a tailor in a supermarket, and I accompanied her as the driver. I parked the car in an empty parking lot. My wife went to the tailor, and I stayed in the car, watching her from a distance. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a strange, mysterious man appeared and stood near her. His messy hair fell over his shoulders. A small leather bag hung around his neck, and his eyes carried an indescribable intensity. My wife didn't notice him at first, but then she suddenly turned and saw him. I was watching everything from the car, and an uneasy feeling grew inside me. I stepped out of the car and started walking toward them. Meanwhile, my wife took out a $10 bill from her purse and placed it into the man's bag. The man paid no attention to the money and kept staring at her intensely. When I got closer, he didn't even look at me. He took the bill out of the bag and suddenly put it into his mouth. After holding it there for a moment, he took it out and placed it back in my wife's hand. My wife, the tailor, and I were all stunned. Surprisingly, the note was completely dry. Then the man gently placed his hand on my wife's head and said, "Daughter, we are not among those who take. We are among those who give." After saying this, he walked away. Our attention was fixed on the note. My wife stood there in shock, holding it in her hand. On all 4 corners of the note, there were writings in different colors, in a language we couldn't understand. We looked around in confusion, but the mysterious man had vanished. We ran and searched the nearby streets, but there was no trace of him. We quietly returned home with the note. From that day onward, it felt as if the doors of success had opened for us. Everything we touched turned into success. Whatever we wished for, we received. Even today, whenever we visit Boston, we unconsciously stop near that supermarket, our eyes searching for that man. But that mysterious man was never seen again. If this incident had been told by an ordinary person, I might have laughed and ignored it. But this was told by Dr. Max, who is not only an experienced traveler, but also a cardiac surgeon. So this story deserves attention. Many such incidents have also happened in my own life, and whenever I think about them, they feel unbelievable even to me. God is my witness. If these events had not happened to me personally, I would never have believed them. For example, one incident happened almost 20 years ago. At that time, I was living in a very small house. 1 room, a lounge, a small bathroom, and a tiny courtyard. That was all we had. One day, when I returned home, I saw 2 strange old men sitting in the courtyard. They were sitting on the ground with plates of food placed in front of them, and they were eating peacefully. I looked at my wife in surprise, and she softly said they were passing through the street. They were hungry, so I gave them food. I felt angry because I often told her not to open the door for strangers, but she always considered helping those in need as her duty. I sat down silently and started watching those 2 men eating. They were eating calmly and at the same time looking at me. After finishing the meal, one of the elderly men took a deep breath and said to my wife, "Do you have any coin in the house?" I immediately became alert because I was aware of such scam tricks. Usually people first ask for a coin, then slowly they start asking for bigger things. I signaled my wife not to give anything and said to them, "You have eaten. Now, please allow us to leave." But they were not ready to leave without taking a coin. Finally, I took out a coin from my pocket and gave it to my wife. The elderly man smiled slightly and said, "No, you will not give this coin, my daughter will." I handed the coin to my wife, and she placed it in the man's hand. The man put the coin into his mouth, then pressed it with his teeth, and after a few moments took it out and returned it to my wife. Then both of them stood up, placed their hands on my wife's head, looked at me, smiled slightly, and started walking toward the door. As they were leaving, I heard their final words. "Your Rizkun will never end, and your life will remain easy. All obstacles will remove themselves." I closed the door, but surprisingly, from the very next day, my life started to change. I could have considered this incident as just a coincidence, but about 10 years later, I met a spiritual man in London who lived in a hilly area. I went to meet him with a university professor, and I kept saying again and again, "You people keep spinning these coincidences in people's minds in the name of spirit." He kept laughing and ignoring my words, but when I said it for the fourth time, he suddenly got angry and said, "Who do you think you are? You fed 2 people, gave 1 coin, and that's it, your good deed worked. If you had not done that good deed that day, you would not be living your life like this today. You would be living crippled or in great difficulty. Now go, thank your wife, and be grateful to God. You were saved." I was drenched in sweat from head to toe. My tongue went silent, and the spiritual man stared at me with red eyes for a while. Then he slowly came closer to me, gently tapped my shoulder, and said, "Now watch the effect of this tap. But be careful. Do not come back on this path again." I got scared, stood up, and never returned to that place again. But after that tap, I never felt tired or hungry again, and life started becoming easy and smooth. You may call me and Dr. Max superstitious, but then think about this McDonald's incident. The founders, Richard and Maurice McDonald, opened their first restaurant in California in 1948. In the beginning, everything was failing, no customers were coming, and both brothers were tired. During that time, suddenly a small child appeared, stood at the window, and asked for a burger. Richard refused, but Maurice said, "Let's give it to him." They lit the stove, made a burger, and gave it to the child. The child tried to pay, but Maurice did not take the money. The child crossed the road and disappeared into the forest. Just as the child left, cars started lining up in front of McDonald's, and then McDonald's became famous all over the world. Who was that child? Where did he come from? Even today, the company is searching for him, but he was never found. After that, it became a tradition of McDonald's that on the opening day of every new restaurant, children, especially orphans, are given free burgers. Maybe that same child will come back again and share moments of happiness.